Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Anita Anand bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Group of 7 nations warns Russia to face consequences if Ukraine is invaded. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Shri Kashi Vishwanath Dham is not just a grand building, it is a symbol of India's antiquity, traditions and dynamism. India successfully launches supersonic missile-assisted torpedo from Vela Island in Odisha. China reports a new Delta strain sublineage of Karuna Virus resulting in a spike in COVID-19 infections in Zhejiang province. India's Harna Sandhu wins Miss Universe 2021 crown, and Indian cricket team to undergo 3-day quarantine before flying to South Africa. As India marches towards administering 150 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, news about the fresh corona variants is also causing concern. In this situation, we appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and also help others get vaccinated. Please follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Group of 7 nations has warned that Russia will have to face massive consequences and pay severe costs if President Vladimir Putin attacks Ukraine. The G7 foreign ministers meeting was held in the northern English city of Liverpool. During the meeting that concluded on Sunday, the G7 delegates unitedly condemned Russia's military build-up near Ukraine and called on Moscow to de-escalate. They also reaffirmed unwavering commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The US intelligence agencies had claimed that Russia could be planning a multi-front offensive on Ukraine early next year, and it could involve up to 175,000 troops in the operations. The Kremlin had denied any plan to invade, saying the West is gripped by Russophobia. The Russian embassy in London released a statement on Sunday saying that Britain's frequent use of the Russian aggression phrase during the Liverpool meeting was misleading. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated Shri Kashi Vishwanath Dham in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh on Monday. In his address, the Prime Minister said Kashi Vishwanath Dham is not just a grand building but is a symbol of Indian Sanatan culture and its spiritual soul. He said it is a symbol of India's antiquity, traditions and dynamism.
विश्वनाथ धाम का ये पूरा नया परिसर प्रतीक है हमारे भारत की सनातन संस्कृति का, हमारी आध्यात्मिक आत्मा का, भारत की प्राचीनता का, परंपराओं का, भारत की ऊर्जा का, गतिशीलता का. आपको यहाँ अपने अतीत के गौरव का एहसास भी होगा. कैसे प्राचीनता और नवीनता एक साथ सजीव हो रही है, कैसे पुरातन की प्रेरणाएं भविष्य को दिशा दे रही हैं, इसके साक्षात दर्शन विश्वनाथ धाम परिसर में हम कर रहे हैं.
Mr. Modi said the premises of Kashi Vishwanath Temple was earlier spread over an area of only 3,000 square feet, but now it has been enlarged to over an area of 5 lakh square feet. He said the new premises will ease the pilgrimage for specially abled and senior citizens.
विश्वनाथ धाम परियोजना के पूरा होने से यहाँ हर किसी के लिए पहुंचना सुगम हो गया है. हमारे दिव्यांग भाई बहन, बुजुर्ग माता पिता सीधे बोर्ड से जेटी तक आएंगे. जेटी से घाट तक आने के लिए भी एस्केलेटर लगाए गए हैं. वहां से सीधे मंदिर तक आ सकेंगे. संकरे रास्तों की वजह से दर्शन के लिए जो घंटों तक का इंतजार करना पड़ा था, जो परेशानी होती थी, वो भी अब कम होगी.
The Prime Minister further said today, Kashi is scripting history and it is our fortunate It is our fortune that we are present to witness it. The Prime Minister expressed his gratitude to every worker involved in the construction of this grand complex. The Prime Minister said, "Today's India is reviving its lost heritage." Mr. Modi further said, "Today's new India is not only constructing temple at Ayodhya but also constructing medical colleges in every district." The Prime Minister asked for 3 resolutions from the citizens: Swachhata, Srijan and continuous effort for Atmanirbhar Bharat. India has successfully launched supersonic missile-assisted torpedo from Veela Island in Odisha.
1 now. +1, +2, taken off. Reach down confirmed.
We have a desk report.
The weapon system is being developed by Defence Research and Development Organisation (DRDO) for the Indian Navy. The system is a next-generation missile-based standoff torpedo delivery system. The system has been designed to enhance anti-submarine warfare capability far beyond the conventional range of the torpedo. The missile is launched from ground mobile launcher and it can cover a range of distances. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has congratulated the teams involved in the successful test of the supersonic missile-assisted torpedo system. He said the development of the system is a perfect example of building futuristic defence systems in the country. Secretary, Department of Defence Research and Development and Chairman DRDO, Dr. G. Satish Reddy has also congratulated all those involved in the successful test. He said the system will further enhance the strength of Indian Navy and promote self-reliance in defence, harnessing of expertise and capabilities. Ramya for World News.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back to World News. In today's Hotspot section, a special program on Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh Liberation War, the renaissance of Indian operational art.
In the days of war, the sun does not rise. The world over, it is always night. On one such fateful night on 26th March 1971, the Pakistani army led by General Tika Khan began carrying out a blood-curdling 2-month-long genocide in East Pakistan under the code Operation Searchlight. During this operation, 30 lakh Bengalis were killed, while around 10 million fled to neighbouring India as refugees. Major General Farman Ali, who served General Tika Khan, wrote in his diary, "The green soil of East Pakistan turned red. On this very red soil emerged Operation Lily Cactus, as the survivors of then East Pakistan formed the proverbial butchers." Yes, Lily Cactus is the Indian Army's strategy against Pakistan Army in 1971 war and is widely acknowledged as a sterling example of operational excellence. The brutal ethnic cleansing and enormous influx of refugees to India resulted in 13 days' war between India and Pakistan, which culminated with the rise of a new nation-state of Bangladesh. For the first time in the history of World War II, a new nation-state was born in this manner.
The voice of not one, but a million, Musibur singing the fill, and the thrill the sky with the echoes ringing.
Over 93,000 prisoners of war were taken, and the Pakistani army suffered a humiliating and decisive defeat. The India-Pakistan War of 1971 opened formally on the evening of 3rd December, following a preemptive strike by Pakistani Air Force on the Indian airfields in the west. Within hours, both western and eastern fronts erupted into fighting. The then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, in an address to the nation from All India Radio, declared all-out war against Pakistan in both fronts.
आपसे मैं एक खतरे के समय बोल रही हूँ। कुछ ही घंटे पहले करीब 5:30 बजे शाम के 3 दिसंबर को पाकिस्तान ने हमारे ऊपर एक हमला किया। अब ये बांग्लादेश पर जो पश्चिमी पाकिस्तान की लड़ाई थी, वो लड़ाई भारत पर भी आ गई है। मुझे संदेह नहीं है कि सारी भारत की जनता, सब राजनीतिक दल और सब नागरिक इस समय एक हैं। सबका संकल्प है कि इस हमले का निर्णयात्मक ढंग से समाप्त कर दिया जाए। जय हिंद।
Banga Bandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman declared the struggle this time was for freedom and independence, the innermost desire of 7 crore Bengalis.
প্রত্যেক ঘরে ঘরে দুর্গ গড়ে তোলো, তোমাদের যা কিছু আছে তাই নিয়ে শত্রুর মোকাবেলা করতে হবে এবং রাস্তাঘাট যা যা আছে সব কিছু আমি যদি হুকুম দিতে নাও পারি তোমরা বন্ধ করে দেবে। আমরা ভাতে মারবো, আমরা পানিতে মারবো, তোমরা আমার ভাই, তোমরা বাড়াকে থাকো, কেউ তোমাদের কিছু বলবে না, কিন্তু আর আমার বুকের উপর গুলি চালাবার চেষ্টা করো না। 7 কোটি মানুষকে চাপা রাখতে পারবো না।
New Delhi announced its recognition of Bangladesh on the 6th December 1971 and set up a joint command of the Mukti Bahini and Indian forces. While both sides retained the bulk of the forces in the west, it was in East Pakistan that the decisive battle was fought. The Chief of Army Staff, General Sam Manekshaw, later explained that a winter campaign would reduce the chance of Chinese intervention as passes of the Himalayas would be snowed shut. At the same time, the ground in Bangladesh would be firm and most favorable for armor and mechanized movements.
In the 1971 conflict, the operations were planned in the minutest detail. From the time that Yahya Khan crashed down on East Pakistan and refugees started pouring in, we knew that we would have to do something so that the refugees could go back. Now, when to do it was the question. It could have been done earlier on in April or May, but we were not ready. I had to concentrate my troops. The monsoon was about to break. The Himalayan passes would be open, and I would have to look at the Chinese front.
Echoing the same tune, Lieutenant General J.F.R. Jacob, who was spearheading the operation in Eastern Command, said October-April period was the best time to launch an offensive.
I was under great pressure from the army headquarters to move into Bangladesh in April because the government were pushing the chief and the chief was pushing us. I explained to him that there's no way we could move in April because we were mountain divisions, we had no bridges, we had no adequate transport, the monsoon was about to break and we didn't have the logistics. So I was asked for a brief which I sent to Sam Manekshaw, which he read out to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister agreed to postpone it till after 15 November.
The area of operational focus was clearly designated. The IAF decimated Pakistan's air component in the east and won virtual air supremacy. This enabled a classic airland campaign to develop in Bangladesh the riverine terrain of Bangladesh, a nightmare for any attacker. 3 Indian corps were involved in the liberation of East Pakistan. They were supported by nearly 3 brigades of Mukti Bahini fighting alongside them, and many more were fighting as irregulars. The Indians quickly overran the country selectively, engaging or bypassing heavily defended strongholds. Pakistani forces were unable to effectively counter the Indian attack as they had been deployed in small units around the border to counter the guerrilla attacks by the Mukti Bahini.
Indian Air Force and the Navy had the overwhelming superiority over the Pakistani Navy and Air Force. The Pakistani Air Force was neutralized by IAF on the second day of the war.
The move prevented Pakistani plans to reinforce Dhaka. Former Vice Air Marshal Manmohan Bahadur Singh said the pinpoint bombing on Hotel Hilton by the IAF, where Pakistani High Command hierarchy was to meet, invoked fear in the mind of General Niazi and forced him to surrender.
The Indian Air Force played a vital role in the liberation of erstwhile East Pakistan and the formation of a new country, Bangladesh. The biggest contribution of the Indian Air Force was that it got air supremacy over the skies of Dhaka and then East Pakistan within 2 days. And with that, it was ensured that the Indian Army, which was doing the ground offensive, had no strikes coming from the air. So their airspace was clear, and while our own Air Force was striking targets of Pakistan Army on the ground with impunity and destroying them, and greatly helped the fast movement of the Indian Army. Secondly, the transport and helicopter fleets of the Indian Air Force did a marvelous job in helping the Army leapfrog over the riverine terrain. There are a very large number of small and big rivers in Bangladesh. So the famous Tangail airdrop by transport aircraft and the Meghna river crossing, heli lifting of troops by the Indian Air Force, helped Indian Army formations envelop Pakistani Army formations and their structures on ground from all around. The other point was that the famous strike on 14th of December by Indian Air Force fighter aircraft, MiGs and Hunters, MiGs having taken off from Air Force Station Guwahati, to strike the governor's palace while a meeting was on, presided over by the governor, and that hastened the surrender of the Pakistani forces to our army.
The Indian Navy, despite its relatively small size, successfully accomplished its mission of isolating East Pakistan from the sea, blocking Pakistani attempts to supply or reinforce its beleaguered forces in East Pakistan. Indian Navy deployed the sole aircraft carrier INS Vikrant in the Bay of Bengal, from whose deck its flight of Sea Hawks carried out bombing of the port of Chalna, Chittagong and Cox's Bazar, and carried naval blockade at Karachi port in the west.
Rear Admiral S.K. Gupta, one of the heroes of the 1971 naval war in Eastern Front, opined that despite the modest size of air and naval forces committed on the Eastern Front, they nonetheless contributed handsomely towards the success of the Indian campaign.
The 1971 Indo-Pak War would be long remembered as a very unique event. For one reason, the Indian Navy took the war into the enemy territory in both sectors, the West and the East. Never has it happened before that the Indian Navy has participated so actively in attacking both the ports on the east and the western parts of Pakistan. And this is all the more admirable because the fleet was really quite thin, especially on the eastern sector, where it was just INS Vikrant, an old aircraft carrier with also inch-old aircraft, which had more or less outlived their lives. And yet, from the nucleus of the strike force in eastern Pakistan that actually liberated Bangladesh. In all, it was just one aircraft carrier, about 4 ships with escorts. And yet, within a period of 13 or 14 days, they strangulated the port of Chittagong, and nothing was allowed to come in or go out from East Pakistan. And there was left no option, the own army and air force attacking from the land side, and no escape from the seaward side. With constant attacks from the INS Vikrant aircraft, they had to but surrender.
Finally, Major General J.F.R. Jacob, the key liberator of Bangladesh, played a pivotal role to negotiate the surrender with Niazi at headquarters in Dhaka. It was Jacob who converted the instrument of surrender into an unconditional laying down of arms by 93,000 troops in public and compelled Niazi to agree to sign the draft.
I'm very sympathetic to the sufferings imposed by the Pak Army onto the population of Bangladesh. They murdered, raped, they were terrible. I helped to raise the Mukti forces and train them, and I planned the offensive into Bangladesh, and also I built up the logistics for the war. It was a brilliant campaign because I made this guy surrender in front of the people of Dhaka, a public surrender, the only one in history.
The instrument of surrender of Pakistani forces stationed in East Pakistan was signed at the Ramna race course in what is now Dhaka on December 16, 1971 by Lieutenant General Niazi of Pakistan and Lieutenant General Arora of India.
On the ground, Pakistan suffered the most with 8,000 killed and 25,000 wounded, while India lost 3,000 and 12,000 were wounded. The loss of armoured vehicles was similarly imbalanced. It was a major defeat for Pakistan.
Bangladesh emerged an independent nation after a prolonged bloodbath. Mujibur Rahman was released from a West Pakistani prison and he returned to Dhaka on January 10, 1972 and became the first president of Bangladesh.
বিশ্বকবির সোনার বাংলা নজরুলের বাংলাদেশ জীবনানন্দের রূপসী বাংলা রূপের যে তার নেই কোশিস বাংলাদেশ.
As we enter into the golden jubilee year of the liberation of Bangladesh, our salute to the brave hearts from Indian Army, Air Force and Navy, who not only protected the motherland, but hit back with the precision and played a key role in the birth of a new nation.
শোনো একটি মুজিবরের থেকে লক্ষ মুজিবরের কণ্ঠস্বরের ঝড়ের ধ্বনি প্রতিধ্বনি আকাশে বাতাসে ওঠে রুনি.
China has reported a new Delta strain sublineage of the Karuna Virus, resulting in a spike in COVID-19 infections in Zhejiang province, which registered 138 locally transmitted confirmed cases. This is the first time China has reported the new strain of the Delta variant of the coronavirus, state TV reported. The new Delta strain, sublineage AY.4, has prompted authorities to bar millions of people in the eastern province from travelling. Zhejiang province has registered 138 locally transmitted confirmed COVID-19 cases and one asymptomatic carrier between December 5 to 12 amid the latest COVID-19 resurgence, state-run news agency reported on Sunday. The whole genome sequencing and analysis found that the cases in the three cities were caused by the Delta strain sublineage AY.4, which is stated to be the more transmissible and carries a higher viral load than the original novel coronavirus. The report quoted an official with the Zhejiang Provincial Centre for Disease Control and Prevention as saying. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has tested positive for COVID-19 and is being treated for mild symptoms. Mr. Ramaphosa started feeling unwell on Sunday after leaving the State Memorial Service of South Africa's last apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk, in Cape Town, according to a statement from the presidency. President Ramaphosa returned last Wednesday from a trip to Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Ghana and Senegal.
India's Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia on Monday visited the Indian Pavilion at Expo 2020 in Dubai and invited global investors to invest and strengthen Make in India. Addressing the India Pavilion, Dr. Mandavia said investors have tremendous opportunities in India because it is a strong democratic country. He said ease of doing business is a big facilitator and under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the pace of development has increased. He added that the middle class is expanding and consumption power is also rising. The Health Minister highlighted that India is a world leader in the vaccine manufacturing sector. He said 2 Indian companies have not only done the research and development but manufacturing of the vaccines also in the country. He added our vaccine manufacturing capacity is 310 million doses per month and 86% of the eligible population have got the first dose of COVID vaccine while 55% of the population above 18 years of age have got the second dose. India's Harnas Sandhu has been crowned Miss Universe 2021 2 decades after Lara Datta won the title in 2000. 21-year-old Harnas has won the Miss Universe crown at the contest held in Eilat, Israel this morning. Harnas edged out contestants from Paraguay and South Africa to bag the crown. The moment her name was declared as the winner, Harnas broke down with tears of joy. She could also be seen joining her hands in gratitude. Mexico's Andrea Miza, the reigning queen, passed on her crown to the new successor. India had earlier won the coveted crown twice, with Sushmita Sen bagging the title in 1994 and Lara Datta in 2000. The 21-year-old Harnaz, hailing from Chandigarh, has now joined the league of these incredible women.
Australia and South Africa signed a $720 million defence deal on Monday. South Korean President Moon Jae is the first foreign leader to visit Australia since the pandemic began. The deal, worth about $1 billion Australian dollars, will see South Korean defence company Hanwha to provide the Australian Army with artillery weapons, supply vehicles and radars. North and South Korea, the US and China have agreed in principle to declare a formal end to the Korean War. The South's President Moon Jae-in said talks have yet to begin because of North Korea's demands. The Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953, ended with an armistice and not a peace treaty. North and South Korea have technically been at war ever since, backed by China and the US respectively, and locked in a tense relationship. India-UK space consultations were held on Monday. Ministry of External Affairs and Department of Space, ISRO, represented the Indian side. India and UK exchanged information on respective national space priorities, prospects for bilateral collaboration and deliberations in international forums in the outer space domain.
The Indian cricket team will undergo a 3-day quarantine in Mumbai before flying to Johannesburg, South Africa on Wednesday by a chartered flight. Members of the South Africa-bound squad have been asked to check into a 5-star hotel near the Mumbai International Airport to fulfill the biosecurity protocols. India will play 3 tests and 3 ODIs, but at this point, only the members of the test squad will fly to the Rainbow Nation. Board of Control for Cricket in India BCCI Secretary J. Shah on Monday confirmed that India Test Vice-Captain Rohit Sharma has been ruled out of the upcoming 3-match series against South Africa. The BCCI tweeted that Rohit sustained a left hamstring injury during his training session in Mumbai on Sunday. The BCCI has also confirmed that Rohit is indeed ruled out and Priyank Panchal has replaced him for the 3-match series. Last week, Rohit was named India's Test Vice-Captain and he was also given the reign of white ball format. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Globe and Mail writes, G7 warns of massive consequences if Russia attacks Ukraine. The Washington Post reports, Boris Johnson reports UK's first known death from the Omicron coronavirus variant. Himalayan Times reports Omicron poses very high global risk, but data on severity limited, says WHO. The Guardian reports Kentucky tornadoes hopes rise that death toll could be lower than feared. The Wall Street Journal writes, after 2 decades, abuse crisis has humbled the Catholic Church. Sputnik News says Sweden reviews criminal suspicion of maritime intoxication in Baltic Sea ship collision case. A quick look at the headlines once again. Group of 7 nations warns Russia to face consequences if Ukraine is invaded. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Shri Kashi Vishwanath Dham is not just a grand building, it is a symbol of India's antiquity, traditions and dynamism. India successfully launches supersonic missile-assisted torpedo from Wheeler Island in Odisha. China reports a new Delta strain sublineage of Karuna Virus resulting in spike in COVID-19 infections in Zhejiang province. India's Harnaz Sandhu wins Miss Universe 2021 crown, and Indian cricket team to undergo 3-day quarantine before flying to South Africa. India is celebrating the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Kazakhstan. Vaishnav Jana And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.